Chapter 19. I do not have a multiple personality, cried Dove. I am just me, nobody else. Then who is holding the other side of the conversation? Said the psychiatrist in a soothing, humor-the-maniac voice. Her parents had not retained the school psychologist. Everybody knew that the school psychologists were both incompetent and gossipy. The Daniels needed an expert who would tell nobody anything about their daughter. My vanished twin, said Dove. Wing. Wing, repeated the psychiatrist. That's a strange name. It her real name. Her real name, repeated the psychiatrist. My parents named her, cried Dove. Before I was born, ask them. It is true. I am not making anything up. Before you were born, repeated the psychiatrist. My mother was due to have twins, said Dove, trying to remain calm. The doctor's examining room, ominously, was within the gates of a place called Cherry Valley Hospital. We treat the chemically dependent, the abused, and the confused. I'm not chemically dependent, thought Dove. The only person who's ever abused me is Wing. And I'm not confused, the doctor is. About halfway through her pregnancy, explained Dove with desperate necessary care, they found she was going to have only one baby after all. It's called the vanishing twin syndrome. I'm sure you've heard of it. The psychiatrist nodded for some time. Slowly he said, Did you see this on a daytime television talk show, perhaps? Did it excite you? Dove closed her eyes. It is not exciting, she said. It is scary, don't you understand? There is somebody else living in my head. In your head, he repeated. Closing her eyes had been an error. Her grip on the world was momentarily weakened. Wing leaped back into the mouth. What did you learn in medical school? Demanded Wing. How to imitate other people. He smiled. It's a good technique, Dove. You've told me quite a lot, haven't you? I've told you a lot, but you haven't understood a lot. Like, for example, I am not Dove. I am Wing. You should be able to tell the difference. I find it insulting that you still confuse us. Dove is the goody-goody. The psychiatrist steepled his fingers and studied the way the pads of one hand rested against the pads of the other hand. And what does that make you, Wing? He said. Don't tell him about trying to push Timmy out of the hot air balloon, said Dove silently. You don't want him to lock us up, do you? What do you mean, lock us up? Said Wing. Where do you think we are, you nincompoop? Said Dove. We are in the examining room of a private psychiatric hospital. Mother and father are in the waiting area. All they have to do is sign a paper, and we are stuck here. You and we will have to live here. So, said Wing. So I don't want to live in a mental institution. Not even for a night. Let alone a lifetime. I want to go to school and be normal. Wing shook her head. Their head, whichever head it was. Dove had lost track of who possessed the body. They seemed to be merging. Wing said, I don't think you'll ever be normal again, Dove. Not when I can come back at will. The psychiatrist said, I think I'm going to ask Mom and Dad to come in with us for a minute. I don't call them Mom and Dad, said Dove. I know. You call them the maternal body and the paternal body. I do not. I call them mother and father. The psychiatrist nodded. He brought Dove's parents into the room. He said, I'd like to play you a tape of your daughter's conversation with me. You taped me, yelled Wing. I haven't just been sitting here for the last 15 years, waiting for venom to come. I've been paying attention. You cannot tape a person's conversation without that person's permission. You cheated. Venom, said the psychiatrist, seems to be your daughter's excuse for having developed a double personality. It's a very frightening word for a little girl to choose. She seems to realize that in some way, because she identifies it as a perfume, even though it's a snake poison. Dove's parents held each other's hands, but not Dove. You have a very sick girl, said the psychiatrist. He played a tape for them. The Daniel family listened to the double voices, like a flute and a cello duet, Wing up high and Dove down low, arguing with each other. It was the conversation that Dove had thought they were having silently. First, there was no privacy, thought Dove. Now there was no silence. I have never, said the psychiatrist, actually come across a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality in real life. It made a wonderful story, said Dove's father. He was glad to discuss anything besides his child's deterioration. Did it really? Said Dove's mother. I never read it. Father paused. Now that you mention it, I suppose I never read it either. I was just told in school that it made a wonderful story. Robert Louis Stevenson, said the psychiatrist. I have read it quite recently, as a matter of fact. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as a story is boring. I cannot say the story has withstood the test of time. You withstood the test of time, said Dove sadly to Wing. Only 15 years, said Wing. But that story was written a century ago. Neither you nor I will last so long. Of course you will, said Dove. You're from the pyramids. You're from the Nile. Something about you is 5,000 years old. You know, said Wing seriously, you have some very strange thoughts. Perhaps you should get some counseling. Mr. and Mrs. Daniel burst into hysterical laughter and muffled it quickly, clinging to each other. Sometimes, said the psychiatrist, when both parents work, and when the only child pretty much brings herself up, the imagination seems to gain more control than it should. Dove's parents flinched. This isn't our fault, cried Mother. We've been good parents. You can't blame this on my job. That's true, said Dove. They have been good parents. And I don't blame this on the job, Mother. Listen to me. You're not listening. Wing was there all along, biding her time. Now, when the perfume arrived, it opened the path for her to emerge. There is an antidote, but it wasn't very strong. I guess there wasn't enough of it, or we got into the car too fast, or something. But she just didn't fade the way she used to. What I need is... I don't think I can handle this, said Father. There's no reason why you should, said the psychiatrist. That's why we're here, you know, to handle things like this. Cherry Valley has a long and successful history of adolescent treatment. She'll be happy here. You'll be happy that she is here. His voice was as soothing as syrup. and on the river of his voice. Her parents flowed out the door and disappeared. They were replaced by a group of doctors. "This will be a fascinating case," said one of the doctors. He actually rubbed his hands together. Another doctor held a hypodermic needle in his hand. Very slowly he moved toward her, putting each foot flat and heavy on the floor. "Now, Dove," he said, and his voice matched his body, heavy and solid and forever. "We're going to have a nice lie down." "A lie down," repeated Dove. She backed away from him. "We're going to rest for a few days," said the psychiatrist. "Rest," repeated Dove. "Your mother and father cannot handle what is going on. They caw, so you're going to stay here for a while." Here, Dove had backed all the way to the wall. There was no place else to go. The door was blocked. A big woman and a small man with fixed smiles and extended arms stood in the door. Dove whimpered. "It's all right," said the psychiatrist. "Nobody is going to hurt you, Dove. This is where you come to stop being afraid." "Nobody out where you are is going to hurt me," said Dove. "It's inside my head I'm worried about." "This is intriguing," said a visiting doctor. "What a treat to be allowed to observe this case." The needle came closer. "I'm a case," thought Dove Daniel. "A mental case, a suitcase, a bookcase, a briefcase." The needle went in. A basket case, she thought, and the world went dim.